what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will take you very far. Don't scoff when they say it's the end.
Hey everyone, good afternoon. It's Mary Ann from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. Today is Friday, it's May 2nd, and today's our Friday Night Live. I want to do a quick update with you, give you some updated information, and then we have a special guest today. That guest is Collin Thompson. He's running for City Council from District 5, and he's running against Julie Menin, which most of us or all of us are not very happy with these days. So let's get to our updates, and then we can welcome Collin in. So first, there was an MLC meeting this week. I want to let all of you know, Harry Nespoli, who is chair of the MLC, as well as president of the Sanitation Men's Workers Union. He's probably has about 50 years worth of service in the union, and he is stepping down and retiring the end of this month. So that will then put the chair of the MLC up for bids, and we're not really sure where that's going to go. I'm sure a bunch of them were thinking about who might take that over. Most likely, it'll probably be either Henry Garrido from DC 37 or Michael Mulgrew from UFT. And that's only saying that that might be a short-lived position if he does happen to be appointed to the chair, but who knows, because we're hoping to vote him out in the UFT election the end of May. Okay, so let's get into the rest of this. You read in The City, and you heard me on WBAI this morning, that the MLC sued the city of New York over the healthcare savings issue. They're arguing that the city was trying to force them to arbitration. They feel that they should be going through mediation, is what was through the neutral that they had in the agreement in the 2014 and 2018 agreement. So we'll see what happens with that. We're watching that case to see where it goes, but there was some very, very interesting documents in there and some interesting admissions. Of course, for the very first time, they don't say in any of their documents that the MLC represents retirees. In the first couple of cases, when we went back to the submissions that Harry Nespoli put in from the MLC, it was that he represents 102 unions that represent 350,000 employees and retirees, 250,000 retirees. So now we know they're no longer saying that because they recognize they have to tell the truth, because we're going to keep calling them out on their BS. So that is, I have an old banner here. Hold on a second. So that is real BS that they're spreading that. Well, we're going to keep debunking them like we usually do. The other thing is so I'll give you two more things, and then we're going to try to bring in Colin. And if you have any quick questions on this before I bring him in, I want to thank you all for participating in our fundraiser so far. Since we started just, I think, 2 weeks ago, we brought in $76,000 towards our organization's cost and litigation funding. So thank you for that. Keep those donations coming in. We truly do appreciate everything that you're doing. Just like wages go up, attorney fees go up, court costs go up, and everything else. So it's super important that we stay on top of that. We might have some new friends joining us, because as we understand through the MLC meeting, then that new negotiated acquisition is chugging right along. And what we're understanding from the MLC meeting is that there's going to be major changes. While, yes, it's going to be a national network plan, one of the things, there's a lot of trigger language in there that was very, very frustrating to us to see, is that they were saying the same language that they did during the Medicare Advantage plan, that they wanted to make sure that 95% of doctors that they're currently seeing are in the plan. Well, that's one thing. If there's doctors that they're currently seeing, what about the doctors that they might need that they're not currently seeing? And if they're in an area, let's say like Florida, where it's a provider desert, 95% of nothing is really still nothing. So we're kind of worried about the non-Medicare retiree and the active worker plan. So we're going to keep watching that. They're also talking about introducing different costs into that plan, including increased copays, increased deductibles, tiering hospital structures. So if you go to, like in the city of New York or the metro area, you go to hospitals that, let's say, are all HHC hospitals, that there would be no copays. And if you went to all the other hospitals, it would be a higher copay. And if you went to New York Presbyterian and Columbia, it would be even higher. There's also consideration for charging for ambulance services. And these were all things that we were a little concerned about watching because, again, what they're doing is passing costs onto employees and retirees. This might be one of the reasons why, as you heard me say, that the AFL-CIO, Henry Garrido, and really with the push of Michael Mulgrew, had our Senate sponsor drop off the bill. And that's a problem because they were trying to force in language called the moratorium language. And you've heard me speak about this for a couple of years now. Moratorium language is that they won't diminish a benefit for a retiree unless it's equally diminished for an employee. As labor, we shouldn't be making suggestions that we would be agreeing to any diminishment of benefit, whether it's for retirees or employees. And sure as heck, the union shouldn't be agreeing to diminish a benefit for a retiree. Now, there used to be a time that no union leader would ever consider diminishing a benefit for a retired person because if they had to diminish it equally for an employee, that would be political suicide. However, in the times we've been watching in the last 10, 15 years, they absolutely have no problem with that. And many people are asleep at the wheel, not really thinking that what was happening, the cost, the premium, the copays, my apologies, the copays that were increasing, the narrow networks and the increasing deductibles, they all thought that those were costs that were being passed on by the insurance company because everyone's used to having a car insurance or a homeowner's insurance or a renter's insurance, and those plans keep increasing. This wasn't being done because of what the insurance company was doing. This was being implemented simply because the unions and the city were agreeing to them and passing the costs on. And so now we're hearing that those are going to increase. So there's a couple of questions in here. No, Garrido's not stepping down. He just got reelected by his board. So that was one. So no, Ellen, he's not. I had a feeling you and your legal team would be gathering incriminating facts against the MLC with that lawsuit. That lawsuit is pretty interesting. There's a lot more to come out of that, but I do want to take a little bit more time. So Gerald, did Cuomo sign our pledge to not force us into Medicare Advantage, or is it just verbal? So Cuomo never met with me. We asked. He chose not to meet with me. He did not come to the debate, but he did give a letter that had some errors in it, again, saying that he would reimburse copays and not erroneously that he would reimburse copays and not Medicare B premium. So that's still a problem. And this is why we urge politicians or candidates who are running for office that they have to meet with me first. If they refuse to meet with me to understand the issues, then they're going to make mistakes or not understand the problem. So we, again, will be asking them for a meeting before we do any further endorsements of any candidates, because we had rules, and the rules that were made by the board and we shared publicly and on social media was that in order for us to rank and endorse someone, they had to attend the event, they had to attend our debate, they had to agree to a meeting with me, and they had to agree in a letter to our 3 issues, as well as keeping the door open to communication with us. So unfortunately, we had a few candidates like Adrian Adams had declined. Eric Adams, to my recollection, did not respond at all. And it was only, I think, as of the 14th that letter came through. They told us they were too busy to have a meeting, but they wanted to send the letter. When the letter was incorrect, I wanted to have the opportunity to meet with them, and I just have some issues with not being able to speak to a candidate and then respecting expecting an endorsement. So it would be like, to me, like driving a car off a lot and not paying for it. How could I endorse someone with the organization's backing if they never spoke to me before? I appreciate the letter. I truly do. There's some problems with it. It has errors in it that do need to be corrected. But I think if they can get to that point, I don't know what we would do. I need to go back with the board and go back over the rules that we have and see what will happen, as well as the others, because you had Zellner Myrie, who was committed to come, and then he wasn't coming, and as well as Zoran Mondami. Zoran committed to come, and then he backed out. And then Zellner Myrie couldn't come because he was up in Albany with the budget. So even if that's the case, okay, you want to give the assembly person and senator a pass, then they should at least contact us and say, hey, listen, could we at least still meet with you and go over these issues with you? We want to get behind them. The way it's being told to us by people in DC 37 is that DC 37 told the people that they endorsed that in order to those endorsements to stay, that they could not support our issues. So if you notice, there really weren't candidates that they in DC 37 endorsed that supported us. Senator Peter Harcum, who was our state legislative sponsor, then caved to the AFL threats, has been hiding in my district. I do have a meeting with him, Ellen, so let's give him a chance, okay? So I'd like to try to bring in now. Yeah. Gerald, I have no idea Gerald's saying maybe it was intentional. I would like to keep an open mind and invite them to speak with me first. So I'd like to do that for everybody. So I'd like to introduce you all now to Collin Thompson. He is running for New York City Council District 5 against Julie Menin. And I know how all of you who are in her district or have had to deal with her and trying to get her to hear our issue, how she's ignored your phone calls, nor ignored your emails, wouldn't take meeting requests, and she's not signed on to our legislation. We're frustrated because she's an attorney. She's been an attorney for the city of New York. This should have been a common sense issue for her. It is a Democratic Party platform. She's a Democrat. She also needs health care, and she's an attorney, and she should have understood these issues. So you're not the only one you're going to hear that that has not been responded to professionally by her. So no further ado, I want to welcome Collin Thompson.
Hi,
Welcome.
good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. And I am really excited to see some of the District 5 people in the chat. I saw Robert drop in a comment, and Robert's actually how I found out about your organization and your cause, and had a chance to then meet him. And I've met several of the retirees during the petitioning process on the street as we were collecting petitions, and they would come up and share their story. And it was really great. It was great to put a face to a name and see this organization and what it's doing. So I really appreciate you having me.
You're welcome. Well, tell everyone why you're running for a city council position, District 5. Tell them a little bit about you. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So as I was listening to the introduction and hearing Marianne, you talk about the letters and people talking about these issues, I want to first say, look, this has not directly impacted me. I'm not a current city employee. My partner is. He's a nurse at Bellevue. So this is something that will ultimately affect us, right, as a family and household. But I am passionate about returning public office to public service. And I think that is where our paths collide in this issue. And as I've learned more about, what it is that you're asking for, it's obviously a no-brainer. Yeah. Full stop, right? I mean, we have to stop burdening some of the most vulnerable senior citizens, right, with failures of the city government. Like we are pushing the blame around too much and have for too long. But I also believe, and as I heard some of the District 5 constituents share with me, felt this sense that, look, this is an issue that has gone really to deaf ears for quite some time. And just my experience in general in this district and on the Upper East Side, I feel like we're not getting the public service or constituent service that this office really is meant to represent. City council is the closest government is to the people, right? And you have to be willing, even at the end of the day, if it's a it's an idea or constituent group that may not be 100% in lockstep with your ideology, the literal basic definition of your job is to listen and to hear people out. And so hearing from members of District 5 say that they couldn't get that in their city council person really struck a chord with me, and why I'm running for this office, because I believe that New York City government is an incredibly powerful tool, and it's just not being used for the good public service that people deserve. And I was a middle school history teacher, and I used to tell my students, look, if you're not happy with how things are going, get up and get involved. And I was in Central Park back in September. My partner and I go out and read the hard copy of the paper. Marianne was asking me if I'm good at technology, and I'm still a rare millennial who takes a hard copy of the newspaper and reads it hard copy every morning. My grandparents read it on their iPad, but I have the hard copy. And I was just reading a front page headline about the incoming freshmen this past September, and less than a third of our incoming freshmen are proficient in math and reading. And then I just kind of went down this rabbit hole and spiraled into, well, what's being done about this, right? Like, what is the current city council doing? And my current opponent in this election's website lists education wins as rooftop playground renovations at a community school. And I'm thinking, yes, I believe in that. And we've lost the plot. Like, government is meant to be working for people. And when we have a third of our incoming freshmen not proficient in math and reading, that's not working for the people. These systems aren't working. And on top of it, we're not even hearing what I believe are the real issues from the ground. I believe city council is really out of touch with the people it serves. The majority of anyway. They're fine people on there, but I feel like your organization, the work you're doing, is just embodied with what I was feeling, right? A feeling like, no, like you are meant to serve the people, and you could not agree with any one of the 400 people in this organization if I'm the city council person. And at the end of the day, I need to listen. I need to hear them out, and to be turned away is just antithetical to literally what the job description is. You asked for that. If you signed up to run for city council, you asked to listen to people. And so, in addition to, it goes without saying, what you're being asked, or what you're asking for and have been fighting for 4 years. I mean, this should be the most relaxing time of your life. You did your fight for New York City for years, right. But now you're having to fight for what really is just like the basics, right? You signed an agreement, you were with someone, you had a contract with them in both principle and in value, that you are going to give this employee who's giving their time and their service to our city this benefit. Right. And to come back and take it away is just, I think, just bad government personified. So it was a long-winded answer, Marianne, to why I'm passionate about this and why I'm running for this office. But
I totally understand. I appreciate the answer. And yes, it gets to be crazy, because that's how I met you. Was our retirees sent me a video that you put up supporting our issue. I was like, who is this guy and how do I not know him? Wait, District 5? That's Julie Menin's district. Oh my gosh, he's been evil to us. And you're right. It is a no-brainer issue. That's why the struggle. We, sometimes we'll joke, but it's a sad joke that this council, you absolutely are correct 100%, that the council is disconnected from our needs. And when we went into this, and they've heard me say this a million times, in 21, we were still in the middle of COVID. And seniors were being affected by COVID a lot more than younger people, at least in severity. And we said to them, oh, don't worry, this will be easy. Let's just help me form this group. And we'll be done with this in like 6 months. The council's Democrats, they're women, they're nurturers. Women are nurturers by nature. They'll get it. There's a couple of nurses. There's like a dozen attorneys. There's a Democratic Party platform position. 6 months tops, we'll get our lives back. 4 years, Colin, 4 years. And like, they've given us one lame ass excuse after another. And Julie had been dodging us one day last year. she caught me in like Dwayne Reed across from City Hall, and she was online, and I was like, well, she's ignored me forever. I'm just going to stand here like she's a tree. And she approached me, but she still didn't get on our bill. She's like, yeah, maybe we'll talk. Maybe. There's nothing to talk about. Last year's bill was literally 2 sentences long. Like, we stripped it down to nothing. Like, the city has to offer us a Medigap plan, a supplemental, like we got today, and nothing in this bill impairs the unions to collectively bargain. They gave us every excuse under the sun. And still today, we just said, you know what, the hell with it. They gave us all that mishigas after 2-sentence bill. We're going to bring the full bill back. And we're just going to chug it through and just keep on chugging until this darn bill passes. So we're going to see what happens. I don't know. And thank you for recognizing it.
Yeah, I mean,
She didn't listen.
You've offered me a soapbox, so I'm going to get up on it for a second.
Go ahead.
I'm very critical of my party right now, and I am not one of these Democrats who thinks we need to double down on what we've been doing. It's not gotten us anywhere, right? And we've been doubling down on the same thing and the same values for 10 years now, and we just lost an election. So
right.
I am very critical of the Democratic Party. And what I think it is that we have defended government even when it wasn't working, right? When systems and these power structures like, the unions who can do this and manipulate the city council in this way, or special interest PACs and things like that can really drown out voices like ours. I'm very much a grassroots candidate, but the system has been so challenging that the Democrats have sat around and really been like, you don't see what you're seeing. And like, people are like, no, things aren't working. Right. And it allows for, in my opinion, for, a Donald Trump to come in, because people are wanting change. That's what the country's saying. Like, these systems and these services aren't working for a majority of the people. And we need something different. And where I feel like my party has failed is that we haven't offered up an alternative. Like, we haven't just been willing to say, like, look, this isn't working, and here's how we're going to make it better, and here's what the future looks like. And people want something different. So I think when it comes to situations like this, I mean, there's just so much that city council could be doing to improve city government. And, again, you shouldn't be waiting 4 years for this to play out in its course with the city. I mean, when again, you are talking about people's livelihoods and people's health and their financial livelihood and physical, and just making sure that the people, we have a good chance to reform New York City government right now. I think if people are serious about, like, let's really make this work for a majority of people and not just those who are pulling the few strings.
So Laura says, I heard that council member Julie Menin was also petitioning against you. Could this be explained, and what was the outcome?
Yeah, it can be explained. So the New York City Board of Election has a very interesting process for petitioning. I grew up in Tennessee. My mom was on our local county commission in our very small county, so I had some experience with that. But in New York City, sorry, am I back?
You're back. Perfect. Go ahead.
So the New York City petitioning process is very unique, and Democrats and Republicans have a certain window to collect. Independents have a separate window, and then you submit your signatures to the Board of Elections, and then anyone has a 6-day window to object your petition. So, for example, Julie Menin didn't directly challenge my petition. I think she would have thought that looked bad. She's trying to distance herself from it a little bit. We live in, a very digital age, and I know enough about technology to know there's usually a trace there somewhere. And, we connected the dots, and the person who was doing it's actually a personal friend of hers that's on the UFT board. And,
yes.
So it's yes, very...
Wait. I remember. shoot, what was was she's on the UFT Unity board of
She's in
Michael
their
Moore.
executive council. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, this is coming home now.
yeah, and all of these pictures of them together on Instagram. So it's like it's very clear what you're doing. So at any rate, you can file an objection. You get 6 days for the opponent or whomever to whomever filed the objection to collect your signatures, and they can go off and make a case. So they actually get copies of my petitions. They take them,
Right.
they go over them with an attorney and try to nitpick and say, no, there's not enough valid signatures here to get me thrown off the ballot. Honestly, it's kind of doing the city's work for it, because the city then doesn't, I don't know if, I mean, are they checking 10,000 signatures for, a mayoral candidate? I don't know. They say they do.
No.
So, I mean, I don't know. But it gives her team the ability to kind of make a case against me. So they're putting the responsibility on the opponent to be like, well, you find an issue with your opponent's petitions. Then they have to make their case within 6 days to the Board of Elections to say, here's the problems we found, and you should eliminate him from the ballot. And she never filed the specification to do that. So she either decided, look, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to, have that image, or hopefully she realized that, in 25 days, an unknown candidate got nearly 1,500 signatures with a team of ragtag volunteers, which I just think speaks to the volume of people who are willing to say, yes, I want something different, right? I'm signing on to something, not the status quo. So she didn't end up filing anything specific.
Good. So that mooted her challenge.
Yeah, back to the UFT for a moment. I want to make that distinction because I think it really challenges me. I am an educator, right? I've been a middle school history teacher. I've been a dean. I've been most recently a principal. So it just shows you that at the end of the day, my opinion, it wasn't really about education, because I have a very robust education platform and what I think we could do to fix those issues in the public school system. In fact, I propose raising the starting salary of our teachers to $108,000 a year. I know there's a conversation about a better contract out there. Like, I'm one willing to go on the line and say, look, I believe we need to reinvest in people, and we need to invest in teachers, and that's going to be able to help us recruit and retain and raise it to the level that our city nurses are paid. So I could be a very strong ally for the UFT in helping advocate for teachers. I was one, right? But
Right. Absolutely. Kathy says, fair warning, Colin Adrian Adams threatens council members who support Bill 1096. So will anyone in her crew who may sit in for her. So you will be more coerced by her and her cronies.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand. And we're going to, I hopefully get to know each other better. But the thing that I hope comes out across in this campaign the most through my interactions with people, and I've spent every day out knocking doors, texting. I've been out all day, street canvassing. And I hope it comes across in this campaign that I really do value this as a public service. That's what's been my guidepost in my career. I've not had kind of a linear career, but everything I've done has been in public service. And I don't answer to those people. I mean, literally the job definition is to answer to the people who are voting for you. So,
and you're doing this because you're feeling that as the people, you've been disenfranchised by the elected.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my partner and I are very working class people and very not part of the establishment. And I hope to be a voice for those of us who just feel like we are so disconnected from the really important decisions that impact our daily lives.
Laura says, I so agree with you, Colin. The Dems and progressives have failed us, but they won't accept constructive criticism nor tough love. Many city council members quickly take issue with any of our objections and retaliated by calling us bullies. We were done with their lip service and they're caving into endorsements that harm us. We need city council members who get it. I think he gets it, Laura.
Yeah. And Laura, unfortunately, I think that goes into a big issue that we are experiencing with electing people who get it. to city government is how few people are turning out in city elections. There will
Right.
be 25% of registered voters who vote in this election, probably. And unfortunately, instances like what you just described, Laura, and interactions with city government like that, and people being able to just look around and say, hey, this isn't quite working, has caused the citizenry to lose trust in government. And without that, people aren't
Right.
going to turn out and vote. So you have a scenario where, 15% of of a group of people can elect someone to the mayorship,
Yes.
or to city council. And so 15% of the people are deciding on what person makes the decision for the rest of us.
Right.
During the petitioning process, I mean, so many people would come by and be like, oh, sorry, I don't do politics. I'm like, well, politics does you, honey. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is impacting your everyday life. You better wake up and pay
Get
attention.
involved. Yes, absolutely. Janice says it would be a blessing to have an educator on the city council. Janice, I want to inform you, to my knowledge, there are at least two. Eric Dinowitz, who was also of the Unity Caucus of Michael Mulgrew, and I believe he may still be somehow, because I think it's like the mafia. Once you're in, you can't ever get out. And so is Rita Joseph. They're both educators, UFT. So, and there wasn't, when we were doing the candidate screening in District 51, which is mostly a Republican stronghold in Staten Island, Joe Borelli had stepped down, and there were two Republicans and a Democrat. The Democrat ended up being a UFT candidate, Cliff Hagan. We met with Cliff. He said he supported our issue. He told me Michael Mulgrew withdrew from Medicare Advantage. Don't worry. He had no problem with supporting our issue. We went to follow up with him. He never gave us a letter, never committed to supporting our issue. We couldn't get behind him. And this would have been his issue. And he would have had all the return. Imagine how that would have been. You have a mostly Republican district with a labor Democratic candidate. Now, if I remember the stats right, it was Frank took on like 50% of that vote, or 30% of that vote. And the other two candidates split. And it was a low turnout still in this election, this special election. Don't you think if you had all the retirees get behind him, then he would have had a chance to flip that district blue? That there was so much potential there, but he ghosted the people that vote. The older population, the over 50 crowd votes, and they alienated them.
Yes. And from what I've understood, and you're sharing, Marianne, in our conversations about the demographic of your organization, it's also not a group that has the deepest pockets, right? We're generally working class people, right? Some of us have had careers in city government that might be more higher earning than others, but generally this is a working class group of people who are on fixed incomes and don't have a ton of money to spare. And it makes me smile so much when I get a contribution from one of the retirees. It's $5, $10, and I've had people reach out and be like, look, this is all I can give, and that means more to me
Right.
than 100, because like that's significant, right? And but these people who are pushing these bills and the unions are flooding money into these campaigns in ways that everyday working class people really can't combat, right? And yes,
Right.
the unions are full of everyday working class people, but they're also that's not what is calling the shots at the top, right? And I just think that it's very sad that we've allowed special interest money, and how we're going to fund our campaign and how we're going to then save that money for the next campaign, right? I know my opponent spent 1 or 2 days petitioning in District 5 while we were out every day. She had other people doing it for her because she was actually going around to other city council districts in the city, collecting with her friends on city council, because she's already looking at 2029, right? And what citywide office she wants to run for then. So it's really not about the people in the 5th district, right? Because it's not standing on the street corner talking to them. You're having other people do it. People you don't even know. And I had so many people who would stop and be like, I don't want to take up more of your time. Like, no, this is why I'm out here. I want to hear your story. I want to hear, I don't think you can represent people you don't know. And it's just this disconnection, and a lot of it's driven by money. Unfortunately, I really believe that.
Yes, we recognize that as well. Even in the mayoral campaign, there was information coming out today about how lobbyists and real estate are driving some of the mayoral candidate races and some of the city council races. And there was also some other businesses, hotel trades, blah, blah, blah. So Ellen says Frank Morano took almost 60% of the vote, Cliff the teacher about 20, and the other Republican a shade under 20 did. Thank you, Ellen. I knew I was close there, so I guess he was over 50. It was interesting to see because this shows you about low turnout. And races like the mayor's race last year only won by 7,000 votes, and he wasn't like a ranked first choice. So that's the scary part, because that really probably should have been Catherine Garcia's race. This is why it's so important when we say get out the vote and we try to urge everyone to make those calls and help the candidates, is because when you have a low turnout, we see this even in unions, there's a sense of apathy. And when they don't feel that their voice matters and they just don't care, they lose faith in the system and they don't come out. And you're running up against that because of what they created. So then what ends up coming out is just their base.
Absolutely. And that's our challenge. Look, I've been very realistic through this whole thing that, she does have a base and we're building ours, and it's just different. It's not personal. It's not, I believe that we can get back to a time where we can contrast ideas and have these conversations without it being personal and nasty, right? But this is a job interview. Elections are job interviews, and they're a job interview for the public to say, this is who we think will make the best decisions on our behalf. Right. And I'm running my campaign in that way, but she is an incumbent. She has a base, and it's all about the turnout and building a base. But I was recently at a mutual aid happy hour on the Upper East Side, full of people about my age, 30s, maybe late 30s, very intelligent, connected, servant people. They're there as a mutual aid meetup, right, to serve in the community. They care a lot about advocacy. I don't know if one of them could tell me who their city council person is. They don't even know their name of their city council person. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like you are people who are involved. Like you are doing bread drops and cleaning up the streets, and you are thinking about how to improve this neighborhood, and you don't even know who your city council person is. That's terrifying. Yeah.
Our people know who their council members are, because I have the union leaders' heads behind me, and you have another board inside of all of the city council members, every one of them. And it'll show who is not supporting us. There's a board. When we used to do the moving of the head, and if they were on the board of shame, then we would move them over to the good board that they were supporting us. Right now, there's only 14 on that board, and there's still 40 something on the other board. So it's frustrating to see, but this was another reason why we started doing faces was, these are some of the union people, so we chose an uglier face for them. But the city council members, we took their faces from their photos from their council pages because we wanted them to know who they were when they passed them in the street, or were in the grocery store, or were in city council, or were on Broadway. That way, if they recognize who their person is, they were like, wait a minute, you're a council member so-and-so, you're on the aging committee, you're on health committee, you're on civil service. Wait, you're stalling our bill. Now there's a facial recognition. They know that person. Whereas before they didn't. That's a really good training tool to be able to say to you, hey, that's Ann Widger, and that's Henry Garrido, and that's Michael Mulgrew, and that's Odette Tinio. These are people. Ann Widger, who, has been horrible to all of us. If you see them, go up to them. Be polite to them, but, you can be a little edgy. Don't be threatening in any way, but you want to say to them, hey, I am a retiree and you've ignored me. Why are you doing this, and what are you going to do about it? So today I get a phone call. It says, hey, I hear that they're going to screw the under 65 retirees. What are you going to do about it? And I was like, well, you're on the delegate assembly for DC 37. Why don't you go ask Ann Widger and ask her what she's going to do about it? because she kicked out all of the retiree people, all the elected officers, because they were supporting us, and she took them over. Maybe you should ask her. So you're right. This was a way why we started doing the teaching people to recognize who the faces are, because you're not going to know who 51 council members are if they're not your council member. And you are right as well, as many people who even lived in the district didn't even know who their rep was.
Yeah. And look, if they don't want to listen, they don't need the job. That is literally the job description. And I keep saying it because I believe it. Like it's why I was so invested in this issue when Robert brought it to me. That's like, look, this is just the embodiment of like, we've gotten so far away from people listening to people they represent and trying to find the common good. I want to answer a couple of questions, Marianne, if you don't
Go
mind.
ahead. Sure.
I can't log in to join the chat because I have to link my YouTube, and
that's fine.
Discuss my technology issues. But my website is Collin, Collin, for fornyc.com. So I had a couple of questions about that.
Hold on. Collin, Collin, fornyc.com. Putting it in the chat. Collin for nyc.com.
There's more about me there and our platform and a donation link and all that good stuff. But Katie asked where I was an admin. I was an admin up until just very recently, actually, for a federal program. So it was a program administered through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement. And it supports the unaccompanied children coming into our country. So the federal government, when an unaccompanied minor under the age of 18 arrives at the southern border without anyone legally of age to care for them, they go into the Office of Refugee Resettlement's care, and they stay there until they can either be reunited with a loved one here in the United States or in their country of origin, depending on that child situation. And so for that reason, they don't put them in New York City public schools. I mean, we have 11-year-olds who crossed the Darien Gap and made it to the southern border to be then arrive in El Paso and flown to Harlem, New York City, and then thrown into a New York City public school would be quite traumatizing. So the federal government operates satellite programs around the country to be their school while they're in the care of the federal government. So some of them are there for 2 weeks until they're reunited with a family. Others are there for 6 months until they can be reunited with a family member. And that serves as their school in the interim. So that was a long-winded answer to that question. I have... Let's see. Robert asked if there would be a debate scheduled. There's actually going to be one definitely happening on May 29th in Roosevelt Island. And that is going to be hosted by the Roosevelt Island Residents Association. Up until this point, Julie has yet to say she's coming, but I will be there, and it will be a candidates night with a forum. I'm happy that Roosevelt Island is the first to host this. They're also the first to talk about our campaign through the Roosevelt Islander and local media coverage, because they feel the way I feel collectively, right? They feel like Roosevelt Island gets forgotten about. Julie hasn't been over there since the last election. She's been over there, a couple times in the last couple of weeks, but for the last 4 years, Roosevelt Island hasn't seen her. And we feel very much the same, like we're not being heard or not being seen. So they are... I'm really excited. We're building a strong base on Roosevelt Island. They're going to be the first to host this candidates night, and then hopefully have some more here on the Upper East Side as well. It's been a little challenging from the challenging and incumbent standpoint, because so many, especially as a grassroots candidate, so many of the establishments and establishment news sources and things like that don't really want to challenge an incumbent. They're afraid to do it. So Roosevelt Island has been great to us. But Robert will keep you updated if there are any more other than the one on the 29th in Roosevelt Island.
I have not been on Roosevelt Island since I was working over 20 years ago. And we used to get calls all the time. Grandpa from the Munsters lived there, and he used to run on the Green Party ticket. Does anyone remember that? Maybe it's just me. He would take the tram over to Astoria, and he would flyer canvas in Astoria. But he was a Green Party candidate, and he lived on Roosevelt Island.
I like it a lot. It's, I grew up in a tiny two red light town just north of Chattanooga,
Hallelujah.
Tennessee. And I knew everybody and everybody knew everybody there. And,
Yes.
my first job was as a cashier at the Piggly Wiggly when I was 15 years old. And, I, I feel like Roosevelt is just a really tight, close knit community that's really cool in that way.
It
It's really fun.
is. It is. It absolutely is. Patricia says, I like that you want to end the standardized testing obsession.
Yeah, thanks, Patricia. I've spent my career in education prior to this, and I'm really passionate about reforming education because I think everything starts with that, right? It's literally the foundation for the rest of your life, and I don't think we're doing enough. I really worry about the ways in which we're prepping students for a future that they're not going to be prepared to inherit, and when a third or less than a third, and this is what I try to stress to people, even people who are non-parents and may not, my friends who are without children who like,
Right.
why should I care about the school system? I'm like, these people then eventually come into society from school, and when you have students who aren't less than a third proficient in math and reading, that's not good for any of us ultimately, and that's not good for society. It's not good for culture. They then need to join the workforce, and there's so many ramifications. And I think so many of our challenges around income inequality, around segregation as it still exists in New York City, around housing, so much of it could be tied back to just what your potential is, earning potential is coming out of school. And I just don't think I think we could address a lot of our issues if we start at the source. So it's something I'm really passionate about. I don't think standardized testing is indicative of a quality education, and I think we can think outside the box there.
So Katie says the FDNY Rescue and Special Operations has a house there. My father was a chief there before he retired. You should stop by and say hello.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thank you so much. I'll save that.
Ellen says Rhode Island used to have a lot of UN employees.
Yeah, they still have a few UN employees. I ran into a lady there. She's like, I can't vote for you. My husband's the consulate from Nepal. I was like, okay, well, no, I don't think you can. But so I think that there are a few UN people, but I think it may be fewer than it used to be, or at least certainly hasn't increased.
Ellen says, how does your district break down regarding its population, Roosevelt Island versus the rest of your district, and how many residents are in each, if you know?
There are 11,000 and some change who reside on Roosevelt Island, just shy of 12,000 from the last report. There are about 150,000 people in the district. So about 140-ish, a little less on the Upper East Side, and then just shy of 12,000 on Roosevelt Island. Of those, I think we have about 100,000 registered voters in the district, or maybe even a little north of there. It is a district that is highly registered. Not all of them turn out to vote, but it is one of the higher registration districts. And from the data in February, when the state did the updated registration for this cycle, there are roughly 78,000 Democrats and roughly 15,000 registered Republicans, and the rest are just kind of a smattering of different parties: Green Party, Working Families Party, Independent. We have a lot of independents.
Gotcha. Let's see. Janice says, what school were you a principal of?
Yeah, so that's the school I was. I don't know if you were here, Janice. I was just sharing my experience working for the federal program for the unaccompanied children's program for refugee children, and I was the principal of that learning program for them.
You are so right about those awful standardized tests. Was against them since my boys, 45 and 39, were in school.
Yeah. Yeah, they're unnecessary. That's we could spend another whole live stream on that. But
Detta said she just sent $50 in honor of my 2 grandkids graduating. Please keep donating. It's well worth it. Thank you, Detta.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
John Harrington, important time coming up for our schools as the feds fail to do their part.
Yeah, John, I completely agree. But here's what I want to add to that, if you'll let me. I Washington, D.C. has a lot on its plate, and there's a lot of mess happening down there. But another thing that I've tried to be as passionate about in this campaign as possible is I think we've got to get New York City focused back on what we can control. And I think a lot of our city council members have used issues in Washington to play to their base and get a lot of votes and TikTok views. But there's so much within our control in the city of New York, and education is primarily a local issue. So back to that topic, it is most decisions made about education are happening right here in New York City. There's some funding we get from the federal government, sure, and that obviously there's some ramifications with that. But the fact that, and this is sorry, I'm getting passionate here. A statistic that I found out the other day, that I knew we had a massive teacher shortage for special education teachers. I think there may be a couple thousand positions open for teachers right now in public schools. And we are literally not even able to provide the federally mandated protections for students with disabilities or students who have learning needs, to the tune of over $350 million a year that it's costing us in due process claims, because these families are like, wait a minute, you're not providing me the service. They take the city to court, and it's costing us $350 million a year just to fight these families in court for services we're supposed to be providing and aren't. And that is not a Washington, D.C. issue. That is, we need to take ownership of that failure right here at home in New York City and clean up our own house.
Yes, we definitely do. Is there anything else you would like to share with our retirees while you still have them here or within your district? Because they're pulling up on 7 p.m. and I told you we'd try to stop at 1 hour.
Yeah, no, that's great. I appreciate you having me. It's meant so much to me as a grassroots candidate to have people who are giving me a platform to share these ideas. And at the end of the day, I'm unashamedly who I am and passionate about what I believe and doing right by people. And I believe we can get back to a time when good people do good things through elected office. And it's never been personal between Julie and me. I don't see it that way. I see it as I'm offering up one vision to get city government working again, to get city government listening again, to get city government back to a place where working class people like my partner and me, who is a nurse and a teacher and renters and just all of those demographics, back to a place where we are part of the conversation in New York City, because there are a lot of us. And if ultimately that is a vision you want to build towards, I hope to earn your vote.
I think you did a great job here today. And you definitely met a bunch of people that absolutely feel the same way. You'll see that we're live streaming this into Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And so the only place I just keep going back to check is Instagram. And because it doesn't, for whatever reason, those comments don't come through. But as I'm checking, you have a decent crowd there, and you only have one comment there that says, yes, good politician, people first. Everything else you saw here on the side, and, we pulled in a few. But absolutely, this is a great way to get to meet the people. And then remember, even though maybe someone may not be in your district, but they may have family that lives in your district. And then they'll say, hey, wait, Marianne interviewed that guy and he's in your district. You should, and send them the link. And we put this on we have several different Facebook pages. There's different group pages. We email it out to all of our retirees. So it goes out to almost 50,000 people just from our different groups as alone, from our group as well. And then people will share it, and then I can track most of those clicks when we put them out. And then we can also email it out, or short snippets, because sometimes people won't watch an hour-long video. But if there's really important clips, you take a 3-minute clip, people will watch that. So if there's like a couple of quick bullet points you want to get out, you still have 5 more minutes if you want to use that time. If there's anything you want to say to people to earn their vote, to whatever you want to say, take this time now to use that, because this would make a perfect opportunity to get to convince them to vote for you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Marianne. I want to end, actually, I've talked a lot about my vision and how passionate I am about these things, but I want to end with what we began with, which is the retirees issue. And it is it's hard for me to even, I mean, I pulled up my letter just so I could get it verbatim. But the letter I signed in support and sent to you, Marianne, about not being, forced into Medicare Advantage, honoring that long promised benefit, making sure that retirees who are, all retirees, but particularly knowing how many people who are on fixed incomes in this group are having to front money for New York City and its $115 billion budget, to then not be reimbursed in a timely manner, right? And then not having the compassionate approach to making sure these families have an off-ramp to this education. I mean, there are many organizations that give longer runways for people who've been fired from their job, right? And these are people who have served our city. And it's hard for me to get into even to the nitty gritty of this, as I said at the beginning, because it's not an issue that I I know inside and out like you, Marianne, but I know that it's just like basic common no-brainer decency that this is something New York City said it was going to do to a group of people who have busted their butts for New York City for a long time and are people who aren't, they need this. This makes a difference in their lives. This is providing a vital service, insurance and coverage, and making sure they're able to afford that. And, civil service doesn't pay what the private sector pays. And you hope that the other benefits are there and you're taken care of in exchange for all the hard work you did for the city. And to strip those away at the expense of saving political face is pretty much why the system's broken.
Yes, I would definitely agree with you. There's a lot of broken things with government. Anne here is a little disappointed. She wants to know if she could move 4 blocks so she could be back in your district and vote for you. She was redistricted.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I know. This would be actually it's Julie's 3rd election, right? Because she had the redistricting in 2023 and had to run a special election. Nobody ran against her. So it'll be interesting. She's never faced a 2-way race. There were, I think, 5 or so of them in the 21 race. No one challenged her in that special election in the primary in 2023. And as of now, there will just be, well, for sure, there will just be the 2 of us on the ballot this summer. So I'm excited to continue spending the next couple of months laying out what I see as my vision for the district and what we should be working towards, and giving people the option to choose.
Yeah, you have a lot of fans here, so I'm really glad to see that. Even Arthur says it's refreshing to see politicians who aren't insane. Arthur, that's because he's not a politician.
Yeah, I didn't like that title when he said it. I let it slide, but that's not really what I see myself as.
No, and not getting corrupted by the machine. I think that's that's what we need to make sure that we keep that's what I always say to our members, our retirees about your unions, or active workers about unions. Keep your unions honest, hold them accountable. And Jim Walden said that to us as well. You have to make them put it in writing, which you did. Thank you for that. And no, Arthur, that wasn't a smear on you. Trust me. No. No. I'm making a point. He's not a politician yet, and we want to make sure he doesn't become one. But yes, no, I appreciate. I love you, Arthur. And someone just asked a question: what is your Upper East Side zone? 5th to East End?
No, we are 3rd Avenue East, so 3rd. On the east side of 3rd Avenue, the avenue split. So anything east of 3rd, including 2nd and 1st, York, East End, essentially from 58 up to 96. But there's a weird cutout that comes over in the 90s from 92 to 96 all the way to Central Park. So it's like a little panhandle almost. Okay. And then Roosevelt Island.
Gotcha.
So the 5th and 5th Avenue and Madison and most of Park are in that District 4 open seat.
Gotcha. Laura says, thanks, Colin. You're so inspiring and a far cry from Councilmember Julie Menin. We must have you win. And here's Katie saying, I love this guy. I used to live on 91st and 2nd. He'd have my vote.
I appreciate that.
You got some more faith. You even have people that moved out of your district that want to be back in your district. I wonder if you guys moved out because of Julie Menin. Let's get Colin back in and move on back.
Yeah, I would love to have you back in the district.
Absolutely. Toby says, have friends there calling them immediately. And see, this is what it's about. This is that grassroots, because we hear you, we feel you, and we appreciate what you're doing, and you want the vision that you have for your district. So I want to thank you for appearing with us tonight and spending this hour with us and going over your commitment to our retiree issue. That's how I found you. For those that are coming late, is I found him online. And then, of course, one of our retirees shared with me the link. And I was like, who is this guy doing these great videos saying he supports us? We need to meet with him. And then I was excited to see he was actually in Julie Menin's district, because Julie hasn't given us the time of day. So I appreciate you getting involved and speaking with our people and expressing that desire to make sure that their benefits are protected, the promise made to them is kept. And I appreciate you for taking the time to be with us tonight. So thank you. You have a great weekend. Is there anything you want to say before I close?
No, just thank you. Like I said,
Okay,
it
cool.
means the world to me. And you're absolutely right. This is grassroots, and your time and effort and being willing to take a chance on me and having me be a part of this is really means a lot. So thank you.
So on your website, you should have his website is right here, right below me. It says Colin for NYC.com, City Council District 5. Go to his website. I'm assuming they can donate. They can sign up to do your campaign calling. They can volunteer with you, whatever you need there, right? And then
there's a place to leave the number and email, or send us an email, or add your email. So do that, and or reach out to us that way for volunteering. There's a donate button there and stuff. Yeah, and all of our social stuff's linked.
And then if you send us something about if you're doing an event, or if you're still needing more people to sign up to do things, we can put that we can send another email out for you, like we did the last time, to just to your district or to other people that might want to help you, to say, hey, Colin's looking for some more help. Is anyone available? And we can blast that out and put it on our socials for you. Okay.
Great. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. We're making tons of phone calls. It's all just about getting people to know that we're here. So yeah, so anybody who's interested in making phone calls, I would love the support.
Phone calls are easy. We could do them right from our living room. We taught them how to do them right from their phone using Google Voice.
Sorry, I know we keep saying one more thing, but Robert, you're exactly right. I need to put a few endorsements on there, and that's just been, I did put some stuff on our social media, but I need to get one on the website as well.
Okay. Do you need our logo? You should have that.
Yeah, I've got it we did the kind of endorsement blast on social media, but
great.
Our website guys just not got our stuff.
And Robert, so our politics site is retiredlaborstrong.nyc, and their photos are on there as candidates that do support us as well. So that can also be shared. It also has the Hall of Shame, the ones that are not, but it also has the ones that are supporting us, with the links to their sites, so that you can go and donate, register, volunteer, etc.
It was actually Robert who shared that website with me. That's how I found out about this organization. He had heard about me and our candidacy, and he sent me an email and said, I don't know if you know about us, but check this out. And so then and I've been able to meet Laurie, and I've met a few people I know through the petitioning process, which is really nice in person.
That's awesome. All right, cool. Well, we're here. Come back anytime you want. Let me know. Most of my Fridays are booked, but you can still call me for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
All righty. Well, thank you all so much for having me, Marianne. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. So everyone, there is Collin Thompson and District 5 City Council running against Julie Menin. You guys know what to do. You know that she has not supported you. She's not taken your phone calls, your emails. She's paid absolutely no attention to you, basically ghosted us for the last few years. It's time for change. And it's kind of cocky that she'd be campaigning in another person's district and not in her own. So I'm totally liking this gentleman's honesty and support for our issue. Remember, he supported us even before speaking to me. That is phenomenal. And then took the time to have a meeting with me, which is important so that we can go over the issues. He issued us a letter explaining his commitment to retirees. That to me is powerful. So I hope you guys all agree. And from the chat, it looks like you do. If you don't have any questions for me, I'm going to call it a night. I will Robert says, I went from anti-incumbent vote to inspired Colin vote. And thank you for sharing that as well. You guys have a great night. I will keep doing little updates because there's a lot coming out, and the board is still going through everything that we have to go through to finish those endorsements. We still have to update our Retired Labor Strong website. There's a few more people we have endorsed. We had endorsed that have to do Friday lives with us. And because I am so booked, we are also booking on weekdays. We are also bringing back a better contract, the entire full slate, to bring them in, to introduce them all to you. Your ballots have gone out. And I do want to also share with you that that there are a lot of other issues coming out around the UFT election and some bad plays that the UFT is pulling. But I'm going to let the crew from that organization explain some of that to you when they appear. We're looking at, I think, Sunday next. It should be Mother's Day. And that's when we will all get together, have a full introduction of everyone. And I think you guys will really enjoy that. So let me take a quick look. Yes, Inez, I am reminding everyone to vote for A Better Contract. If you get your ballots in the mail this weekend, vote for the A Better Contract slate. Get that ballot right back in the mailbox. If you need help with that ballot, you let us know. We'll connect you, or just go to abettercontract.org and reach out to them. They'd be glad to help you. Yes, William, the contribution thermometer, we announced that earlier. We're up to $76,000. I will post that on the weekend. Lori K, please send an email to the organization retirees at NYC Retirees and let me know, ask that question there. I will make sure that myself or Bob get back to you. The Albany bus is not filled yet, John. So if you're still looking to come, just remember it is an all-day event. We leave Manhattan at about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. We go up to Albany. We need to be there for 1 p.m. Court starts at 2. We're there for about a half an hour. Everyone then takes another potty break, and then we load back up on the bus. We will be serving you lunch, boxed lunches and dinners, which will probably be sandwiches, and bring whatever you want, a bottle of water, whatever seat you have, whatever coat you want, whatever sweater. The bus is ours, so you can leave personal things on the bus. Just please make sure you take them home with you. And you're very welcome. It's great to have him on. Yes, Serena Mia, Frank can sign on to 1096, but I think you might want to give him a little bit of time to just get acclimated before he just starts signing on to bills. But yes, he can sign on. He may need to go through some council training first, but just give him a little bit of a break. I'm not urging him to jump on right now. Thank you, Laura. I do appreciate that. Laura says also, thanks for the phenomenal videos and pieces you are posting, are gems. I mean, some of this is really crazy, but as it comes up, I mean, I take it as it comes, and I'll just keep doing them. This morning was nice. I did that video while sitting outside. It's nicer in the mornings for me to get out a little bit. And so I do appreciate being able to share that with you so that you understand. But you are definitely welcome. So listen, guys, it's just after 7. I've been doing this now since 6 a.m. So I'd want to go take a break and stop talking. You guys have a great weekend. I truly appreciate you. If you are UFT, make sure you vote for A Better Contract. Yes, Laura, I can't believe Arises lies too. We did this. You did this. Not they did this. We won this. We broke our asses. We donated. And I had no problem calling that shit out. Okay. That's good. You guys have a great night. I love you. And I'll see you on my next video. Good night.
Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will